Hello, folks. Welcome back to the Best Show Ever podcast, the podcast about the best concerts that people have ever seen in their lives. I'm your host, Cam Herdt, and this week is a really cool week. We've got a bunch of great episodes, but right now you are listening to the bonus episode. This interview happened sort of last minute last week while the Disco Biscuits were on the road, and not to ruin anything, but I've got Disco Biscuits guitarist Jon Barber on the podcast today. Very cool to talk with Jon. I'm a huge fan of his. I think his podcast is great. Touchdowns all day. The Disco Biscuits are great. They got a brand new album out right now, which is what we end up getting to talk about a little bit in the intro of this podcast. But Jon is hilarious, and he's a great hang, and he's got the best stories. I mean, anyone who's listened to anything that Jon's ever done knows that Jon has got some great stories. He sheds light on a couple of those in this episode here. If you love the Grateful Dead, you're gonna love some of these stories. If you love Phish, you're gonna love some of these stories. Shit, man. If you love music, you're gonna love some of these stories. But we had a really good time, and I was super happy to have him on here. You're on the Patreon right now. This is a free episode that's on the Patreon. There is other episodes and clips and little nuggets on here that you can get should you become a paid member. Not forcing you. Listen, okay. All you'd be doing is supporting the podcast. All you'd be doing is making the experience better for yourself in the future. But this episode is for free. Please enjoy it. Quick shout outs before we get started. I wanted to shout out a couple of people and organizations doing cool things. One of those being the FemFlock podcast. The FemFlock podcast is a goose-centric podcast, but what they're really trying to do is amplify female voices within the scene, which is a good thing. Let's be honest. You don't need a bunch of dudes like me and Jon on every single episode of every podcast ever for all time, which is a lot. It's a lot of dudes out there. Let's be real. So, super cool to have the FemFlock podcast around. They're currently looking for people who have been to Phish festivals to interview on their podcast. If they haven't found someone already, and you're someone who's been to some Phish festivals, reach out to the FemFlock. They want to talk to you. And then another account that's doing really cool things. This dude has done some dies for me, but the Doodah Man dies. Just a really cool. He's done some really cool art for me. I mean, he did my King Giz shirt. He did one of my Long Strange Putt shirts. He's made some very cool Disco Biscuits stuff that is also dyed. His dyes are great. His page is fantastic. Doodah Man Dies. Go check him out. And if you got a shirt with like a little stain on it, or you got like armpit sweat in it or something, get it dyed, dude. It's way sicker. Way sicker. My King Giz shirt got like a little stain on it like immediately right when I got it. Dyed it. Long Strange Putt shirt had a little pizza stain on it. He made it a pizza shirt. It's like a full-on pizza shirt. Yeah, dude. Doodah Man Dies. Check that out. But I don't want to bore you guys with any more intro. It's enough intro out of me. Let's get right into this conversation that I had with Jon Barber from the Disco Biscuits. But first, there's a little bit of music from a band called Loom with their song, What I Mean. I'm very much in LA. I'm very much an LA guy.
That is an LA apartment if I've ever seen one right there. Damn.
Yeah, got a couple plants.
Just
to your left, there's a
stereo.
little altar for meditation. Yep.
Really? That's amazing.
Oh yeah.
That's amazing.
Where are you guys at right now?
We're in New Orleans. You can tell by the stuff on the wall, the hotel stuff. Yeah, we just got here and we're halfway through this tour, I think. Something like that. I don't know. I lose count. It's impossible to track.
Did you track that you just had a birthday? Did you remember?
Yeah, I got that one. Yeah. And everybody's like ready to hang at the backstage birthday party. Everybody's ready to hang and ask me like, "How did your birthday feel?" and stuff like that. And I'm still going like, bleep, bloop, bleep, bloop. And I don't know how to talk to anybody. I don't know what to say to anybody. I'm like, It would be easier for me at that point at the show to pick up a guitar and just play along with their birthday questions than it would be to answer the actual birthday questions. You know, it would be easier for me to pick out the melody of what they're saying than to actually respond to the words that they're using.
That'd be so funny. People don't even know they're getting cussed out. You know, they ask you a question, you're like, "Where now?
Like, have this person removed, please. Yeah,
Get this guy the fuck out of here."
yeah.
Where now?
Isn't there a maximum sweating requirement for people who come backstage? Doesn't this guy exceed the amount of sweat on his body to be allowed back here? Guys, everyone. Yeah,
That
who's in
was I was
charge
gonna
of
say
that?
that was me. That was
Yeah.
me.
That was good. We rolled it.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and also thanks for letting me come backstage that one time. That was awesome. I was like, wow, you got fucking the whole gang back there. Peter Shapiro's
Yeah.
back there. It was sick.
Yeah,
It was great to hang with you guys.
it's fun. That was a good show.
Great show. Great show. We we're talking about your best shows ever on the podcast. And we'll get to those, but you guys just put out a new album. Pretty sick.
You know, it's out.
Yeah.
It's Revolution in
Yeah.
Motion is what it's called. It's out. It's on Spotify. It's on all the streamers. It's even on YouTube. There's a video. We made a short movie to accompany the songs that is about a half hour long. So it's like a little TV show. And you can watch that on YouTube. And basically, it explains kind of the plot and some of the characters, gives you some visuals. We basically had that made by humans. And essentially, they drew it up for us. These guys are called Blunt Action, also from LA. And it's our first foray in animation. It goes along with the album, really helps explain things. We also made a 4-part podcast series on the Touchdowns All Day podcast that I do with Max Dawson that explains a lot of the movie because it's very in depth. There's a lot of things in the story. It's a double vinyl album. It's a lot of music. And the second to last song has one of the craziest jam band peaks ever put on wax, frankly. So it's still
Man.
true to the jam band thing, but it's also our little like pandemic, went way too deep on a story idea type of concept.
Well, man, I'm so many people, big and small, had projects that they were working on in the pandemic that got dropped eventually. I was going to build a guitar, and that didn't end up happening.
I
Not
tried that
even,
once.
not even one iota of that happened. But to see it, fully fleshed out now in 2024, out and released, that's got to feel great.
Feels awesome. The release show was wild. We shot it, broadcasted on Nugs, and we had some guest singers, and Cloudcord came up who helped produce the album with us. He came up and played guitar. It was just a really great vibe. The fans were there for it. There was big cardboard cutouts of aliens they could take pictures with, and it was just fun all the way around.
Yeah, I love that. I love having a concept that reaches past just the music, and then you have all this other art that comes along with it, and you get to work with cool people and pull people in on stuff. That's awesome. That's sick. I can't wait to dive in on that.
This is a totally new space opera that
Yeah.
we literally cooked it up backstage at one of those drive-in shows during the pandemic. Did you ever go to one of those where it's like they dusted off some old like weird RV space in the middle of nowhere with a
Yeah.
drive-in and yeah, and I was live streaming all the shows with my site Couch Tour, and we couldn't get the satellite signal from the show over the hill to the satellite. So we couldn't satellite broadcast without like some kind of like, Eiffel Tower to put the thing on. So we were just like, all right, we can't do it tonight. And we sat backstage and we were just like hemming and hawing about like what could we do that would be fun to make the pandemic cool. And we cooked up this idea for these aliens that, they party a little too hard in outer space and they end up discovering Earth. So it's really a story about these rogue aliens. They connect to electricity using these tentacles. They don't have hands. They're almost exactly the same as us, but they don't have hands. And they actually have more like a tentacle thing that connects directly to these crystals of electricity. And sometimes they can drive a ship with that kind of technology. but sometimes they can get a little buzzed. They do these things called shocks, and they get a little buzzed, and then they like flew into the wrong place in outer space and hit a wormhole and went through the wormhole. They end up on the other side, and they find Earth, and then they cook up a deal with the band that they discover on Earth, which happens to be the Disco Biscuits, and they bring us back to the Queen to play for her, to show the Queen that their, mission through space wasn't all that bad as it ends up. And we end up actually, they were going to take all of Earth and specimenize everyone on Earth, animals, people, everything. And the band actually saved the planet. And yeah, yeah, it's
Hell
great.
yeah, man.
I don't want to spoil the
Yeah,
ending, but it's been out for like a week. I think everybody knows the ending.
I was gonna say it's not a cautionary tale. Everyone comes together. Beautiful.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No
Well,
question.
well,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna blow anything.
We made the first piece of art in 6 years where there is no statement at the end of it. There's no political statement at the end of it. It's just fun. It's good.
Stuff can just be fun. That's good. Yeah, man. Well, I'm loving having you on. I'm loving that you wanted to do the podcast. This is great that we were able to get this in while you guys are on the road. And you guys have played, some great shows this year and some great shows for many years. But we're not going to possibly talk about any of those on this
Oh
podcast
wow.
today. We are going to talk about shows you have seen. And to get started, what's the first concert you ever saw in your life ever?
The first concert I ever saw was the Beach Boys.
Wow.
What was Garden State Arts Center? I think it's a different name now, but it's the big space alien place in like Homedale, New Jersey or whatever. And it was just the Beach Boys doing their thing, doing all the songs. I don't think it was. Yeah, it was like they had like a resurgence a bunch of years ago, and I went with like my sister and her friends, and I think maybe a mom or something like that. I was pretty little, and it was cool. I enjoyed it. And then after that, I saw the Radiators, just me and my brother, at the Roxy in New York, which was a club show where I don't know how they snuck me in somehow. They like put a hoodie over me and just like pretended I like I think I had to like hold like a cigarette or something, but I didn't smoke it. But I had to hold it, pretend I was smoking, so that nobody would ask me how old I was. And then we like snuck into the room and went right up to the front, and I sat in the front and watched the whole show, and it was great. And then that was a cool thing. It was just me and my brother in New York. Those were some of the earliest shows. You ever seen the Radiators?
How I've never seen the Radiators. How old were you? How old were you for that show? You said you were.
Like 12 or 13, maybe 11. I was super young. I was
You know
super
those
young. I
guys were
was
on
so
stage like that kid's 12 years old.
yeah, yeah,
That kid is truly
yeah,
12.
yeah. Like, how did he get in there? Yeah.
That's amazing. No, I've never seen him. I mean, was that were you like dying? Were you begging your brother to go to that show, or was he like you're coming along, or how did that work?
I think he got stuck with me because of stuff that my parents were doing. And I don't think that he quite told my parents what his plans were for the night. So I think my parents were like, okay, you're going to hang out with your little brother tonight, and we're going to go to the shrum, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, okay, you don't know that and then we got on a train and went to New York, which we used to do all the time without anybody knowing. And we used to just go, it wasn't that big of a deal. So it was one of those things where he just like brought me along, and, you know, that was that.
He's like,
That's what
I'll
happened.
I'll watch him, but I'm not gonna tell you where we're gonna be watching him, but I'm gonna
Yeah,
watch.
yeah. My mom and dad thought that we were like home watching TV or something. We're in New York City, like running around at a
With
concert,
cigarettes.
like yeah, doing all sorts of like he's hanging out with his friends, like they're trying to be 17, 18-year-olds at the time, so they're trying to have a little bit more fun. And I'm just like hanging out in like a sweater or something lame like that. It's like a 12-year-old.
trying to be cool.
Yeah, just like, you know,
Yeah, I was my older brother is or my older half brother is 10 years older than me, and I was like dying for him to take me to Phish shows when I was younger. Like at the end of their like in the 03, 04 years when he was going a lot. I was like but I mean that's when I was like 12. And so I
yeah,
there was no way he was about to bring me to that. He had his own shenanigans going on. There was no way that was ever going to
yeah.
happen.
I told a story the other day about being on the going to a Dead show at like 15. And that happened as well, where I was at Giant Stadium for the Dead, um, way young, and that was like 15 or 16 or 15, I think. And we went in early, and we didn't know about the no reentry thing. So everybody should know about that. Like you go into the bigger venues, they're not gonna let you. If you leave, you're done for the day. So we found that out. So we couldn't leave because we couldn't be like walking around the parking lot all night. So we hung out on the football field. We went right up to the front of the stage.
Wow. What year was that?
Oh, I don't
11.
know, 80, 88, something like that.
Wow. Very cool.
Yeah,
Cuz
maybe
that I mean
92. Might have been 92.
it was either 74 or 91.
It's hard because like you don't remember like what was the difference for you from like age 12 to age 16, 17. And it's a pretty big difference. But for me, I don't remember it being any different. Like it was just the same thing. So I don't remember how old I was at any of those things.
Yeah, that's
It could have
true.
been 11.
Like when I think of yeah, when I think of shows that I saw in high school, it's just like it happened in high school. Like I don't,
Yeah,
it could have been freshman year, it could have been senior. I don't really remember.
yeah, yeah. In
Yeah,
the sense, it would have been cool to have been one of those kids that like first 2 years of high school you're very skinny, and then the second 2 years of high school you're like roided out with like a beard. So it's like a very
yeah,
different experience, you know. But for me, it was pretty much the same kid the whole time. So it
yeah.
doesn't. I don't remember one being really different from the other.
Honest, I mean, I looked like I was 12 when I was 18. So I mean, I was there was not like me getting into clubs that I couldn't get into. They're like that kid's not fucking coming in.
I had a band and we went down to play a show. I was on bass because the guitar player was like the best guitar player in New Jersey guy, right? And we went
Yeah,
down and I got put on bass in that band. And I was younger than them. And we went down to play his older brothers at James Madison University. We went down to play his older brothers, like dorm room or whatever. And then we also went to play a bar in town. And I was playing mandolin in the band in the bar. I don't know how I got on mandolin, but I can hack a mandolin pretty good. So they put me on mandolin. So I'm sitting there going, we're playing our Dead songs or whatever. And the bartender in the middle of the set comes over, stops the whole band, points at me, and goes, "You get the fuck out of my bar!" And just like tears me off the stage and throws me out of the bar. And everybody was just like, "Whoa!" So he figured it out. He didn't have any question. He wasn't looking for ID. He just knew. He immediately knew that I
he's
shouldn't have
like
been in
really
his
good friend of the
establishment.
devil, dude. Get the fuck out of here. Awesome friend of the devil. Beat it. Beat
You
it
know?
on down the line. The fuck
Yeah.
out of here.
They grabbed me like right here. Like, how many times in life do you literally get like grabbed and just thrown? That was one of them.
Not a not a lot. When you're younger in clubs, definitely.
All the time. All the time.
They're waiting to toss you out. Do you have a worst concert that you ever saw in your life? Or worst concert experience? Couldn't it didn't have to be the band. It could have been your fault, you know.
Probably my fault. Yeah, I think I just like lost my cookies at an Almond Brothers show once. I just couldn't stop vomiting. I don't know what we did.
Uh,
I just couldn't stop vomiting. I was that guy. I was always that guy. And that's a terrible experience. Um, I definitely was at a Phish show that was so crowded that I like couldn't maintain consciousness. I kept like passing out. It's like so
yeah.
it was so crazy. It was a little tiny place. It was like 100 people in a garage in New York City. And I just like there was so much smoke in the air. It was just such a wild experience that I like kept like trying to stay conscious and then like fainting. I don't know what was wrong with me, but we were young then too. I don't know what that was all about. Those are probably my two worst concert experiences. Both having to deal
I
with
do that.
consciousness. You do that all the time. Nick,
I pass out. I'll pass out if I'm not even on anything. I'll just get a little claustrophobic and bam. I don't know.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Back then it was frowned upon. Now it's like, part of the experience. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, people jump to your rescue, all that kind of stuff. When I did it at, I think me and my friends saw Jack's Mannequin in high school, and it got too crowded, and I passed out. My friends were just like pissed. That was it. They were like, "Dude, what the fuck?"
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not even. I wasn't even. We weren't drinking. I think I probably smoked some weed or something, but like, just passed out, dude. Just a
Yeah,
little.
no one was nice to you back then. Now they're like, "How do we help you? Let's give you a towel. Here's some water." Back then they were
I
like,
think I
"Are you?"
paid for a water. I think I bought a fucking water after I passed out.
That's the smart move.
Yeah.
Me, I kept gaining consciousness and then not figuring out what to do, and then passing out for the same reason again, like over and over again. It's terrible. My friends who
So,
did wanted nothing to do with me. I was embarrassing them.
we don't fucking know this guy. You said 100 people in a garage. What show is that?
It's called the Marquee, I think it was called. It's probably on the Phish set list thing. I can't imagine they played it more than once. So, you know,
Yeah,
it was what it was. It
especially
was
in New York. I mean, that's not, they're not playing to 100 people often in New York.
Yeah, they played Buried Alive, which was a song that I liked at the time. I remember that. And then I like passed out in the middle of it. I can't remember what else they played.
And then you got buried alive.
And then my friends were like, "We don't know this guy. Get him out of here." So like, I
Yeah,
just tried to figure out what to do in this place. You know,
man. Well, I mean, it sounds like you've seen some epic shows. It's got to be, it's very difficult to pick a best show ever. Kind of put people in a tough predicament with this question. But do you have honorable mention shows that are like right up there with the best show ever? Maybe not the best one, but close.
well, yeah, best show ever is hard. I think if I could have seen Bob Marley live, that probably would have been best show ever. I don't think
Yeah.
I'm always reserving that spot for Bob Marley if they ever figure out like using some fancy AI how to bring him back. There's probably plenty of footage, right? Like
Yeah, they've
that would
got
be
to
a
be able to
worth.
do that.
That would be like if you were to think of like things they could do with AI that are good. There's like almost nothing on that list. I think. I mean, is there anything on that list? I don't think so. But bringing Bob Marley back might be a good one. They always bring back Tupac or Michael Jackson. Those are the two options for bring back. I don't know why
And then
Bob
like,
Marley is not on the list.
didn't they try Frank Zappa too? Wasn't like the
Did
other
they?
half of the Zappa family that's like not Dweezil tried to do the. If there's enough footage of Zappa, there's enough footage of Bob Marley.
Yeah, there's got to be. I mean, they need like 4 minutes now.
Yeah, and then you can get his whole life. He could
Yeah,
act in a movie.
the computer's like, "Ding, ding, ding." All right, we're good. Here's Bob Marley. Ding. You know what I mean? The
Like
computer needs.
he could have
It could,
he could have done background in one movie, and they would have been. They can make a whole. He could lead. He could be a leading man in a movie.
yeah,
I mean, all right. So AI Bob Marley in the future is probably honorable mention show.
I think that'd be the best show I've ever seen. Definitely saw a bunch of great shows by all the jam band guys. Saw some incredible Fish shows, saw some incredible Grateful Dead shows, some good Allman Brothers shows back in the day. Um, so I've seen all the bands that started the thing, and you know, I never saw Jefferson Airplane, but I'm sure that was a good show. I would have caught them when
Yeah,
they were Starship, and I was 9, but it still would have been something. Um, Radiohead was a great show. I don't know why they don't tour anymore. What a great band those guys were.
yeah, they get brought up on the show a lot. People have brought up Radiohead as one of their best shows ever, and it's usually folks who I wouldn't assume. I was like, oh, I thought we were going to be talking about Phish this whole podcast, or or the Grateful Dead this whole podcast, and then a recent Radiohead show creeps in there.
Right.
Um,
That's wild.
yeah,
That's
man.
wild.
Um, is like, do you have a Phish show that was like, that's the one? Like,
Um, I guess so. I mean, there was that Binghamton, New York show, which I thought was the most fun to listen to, Phish show, which was that famous Binghamton, New York show, which we didn't make it to, and we were going to shows at that time, and we did not make it to that show because we like had other things to do or whatever. We weren't tour kids. We would just go to shows. And yeah, that show was incredible. I saw them. I don't know. They're such a consistent band at such a high level. It's hard to say that. I know the fans give them a hard time, but they're a very consistent band playing at a very high level for a very long time. And when they started to like change and do different things, that was like post my era and more into. So I got a very pure form of Phish. It was very much, guitar led jazz fusion rock based in the 70s, being updated for the early 2000s and the late 90s and stuff like that. And that was a really great version of Phish, the David Bowies of the world and Big Antelopes and occasional Harry Hoods. That was a very good version of that band. And then when they got into like a lot bigger rooms, I guess they decided that that style didn't translate that great in the bigger rooms. And so they changed it up a little bit, got funkier and stuff like that. And so I don't know where I would how I would feel about that era of Phish because I'm from that jazz fusion era, so you know I'm part of that group that was like very into what they were doing musically and how they were basically taking jam band music and making it really really interesting. Instead of just like, let's just rip this and just get vibey, they were like, oh, we're going to get scientific on this stuff and permutate it in different ways that you didn't even realize were possible and create all different soundscapes. And it's going to be every night. So they used to do that stuff all the time. So I don't know which was the best show, honestly, but I used to love listening to that Birmingham show because it's so good. It's crazy.
yeah, and that early '90s era of Phish is where Trey talks about how he's like, there's really no one that's doing what we do or has ever really done what we do right now. And yeah, once you start playing fucking Madison Square Garden, yeah, you got to find ways to get that whole room into it, and funk works, so that,
Yeah.
and they're, listening to a lot of funk at that time. But yeah, I mean, being from that earlier era, that had to be a crazy transition to watch. I've only ever lived post both of those things. So,
Yeah.
um, I mean, were you seeing, you said that you were just sticking around where you were from seeing shows. Were you seeing like a lot of the same people at shows, or did it feel like there was like weird swaths of people that were coming in, new swaths of people that were coming in to see him? Or
Well, I thought it was a lot of the same people. Um, I was pretty young, so I didn't really like mix in the scene that much. Um, I don't think the scene wanted to necessarily mix with us because we were like a problem that we were too young and we were at a lot of shows. And yeah, they probably looked at us as how the fuck did those kids get in here on the regular basis? Because we would go to 18 plus shows when we weren't 18. We would do it all the time. I mean, we would jump fences. We would, buy wristbands off the security guards. We would do all sorts of things to get into the shows. We would go to like we were at a show called Arrowhead Ranch way back in the day. We were not allowed into that show. I was the only person in the whole show who didn't take mushrooms. The only reason I didn't take mushrooms is because I was like, "What the fuck is this? What are mushrooms?" You know what I mean? That was my introduction to mushrooms. Was everyone else around me was on them except for me. And I was just like, what are these things? Like, I knew who Jimi Hendrix was, and I knew what like hallucinogens were, but I didn't realize they were going to do it tonight. You know what I mean? It's like,
right
it's
now,
like
I think you only did that in the
same thing.
'60s. I don't think you're supposed
Yeah,
to do that anymore.
that's what I was like. I was looking around. I went with like a group of people that were. I was like thrown into a group of people that I knew really well, but I did definitely was like added to their group, and they were like, there's some girlfriends, and some boyfriends, and some people. It was a little bit of a thing where they had like a plan, and they decided to leave me out of the mushroom thing because they were like, "Ah, he's too young. He's not going to understand." And then, but I figured it out. I was like, "Why is everybody acting crazy around me?" And they were all on mushrooms. They were all on mushrooms. So what are you going to do? That was a great
It's a
show.
funny it's a funny realization to come to when you don't know what it is. Like when you're like,
Yeah,
what? Smoking bowls. What
yeah.
what what happened?
That's what I thought. Yeah, I thought it was like that, and it was a lot more crazy than that. And the crazy thing was the friend that I who brought me into the group was on mushrooms. He was my age, and he was trying to explain to me what they were doing and why they didn't tell me, but he was tripping his face off. So he was like,
The
"Well,
worst.
how did it?" I was like, "What are you saying to me, man? Like, what's going on?" And then, and then we went over, we watched the band. There was plenty of space there. It was a good, like, it was an early show where there's like people didn't really know who they were and stuff like that. And there's probably pictures of it where there's one kid and then there's like all these other twirling kids going in circles, and the one kid doesn't move. And that was me. I was just sitting there. What's going on? That was a weekend show. I had to put up with that for 48 hours.
Oh my god, dude. And I mean, the guy explaining his current trip to the guy who's not tripping is just, I mean, brutal.
He was
I
like,
mean, brutal conversation.
yeah, I mean, his face was literally melting. Like, I was like, "How do you do that with your face? Like, what's going on?"
Yeah.
He's like,
Yeah.
"Worry, man."
I and also the amount of times like I've been tripping and then I go to say something to my friend about what's been going on that is crystal clear to me. And then they're like, it's
Yeah,
like a record scratch. They're like, what did you just fucking say? I'm like, oh, that's yeah. That's right.
that's what
Different
happened. Yeah.
different thing going on for sure. Sorry. Oh man. Did you how long did you last in that? I mean, did you end up seeing them into your 20s and or was that something that you did when you were younger and then started playing yourself or
Well, I used to like play a lot of guitar, like in my, I used to live in the middle of nowhere. So I used to go when I went back to my house, like what was I gonna do? So I would play guitar along with, the radio. And, it makes sense that I'm an improv guitar player because it's basically playing along with the radio. I didn't have charts to any of those songs. So I would just play along with the songs, and your ear gets trained to match notes to chords. So it kind of was training for my job. And then I would put on like a Phish tape or a Dead tape and just play the whole show along with the band. And I would learn parts of the songs and play along. So I felt like I could probably hack it in one of those bands when I was like 12. I was like, I could probably fill in for these
man?
guys at that point. But I didn't understand the other things that are necessary. I just figured I could do the guitar part. And that it's not that hard to do that. It definitely got me to a point where I was very comfortable in all those keys with all that stuff. And I would just do it all the time for fun. But
Yeah, when you're a kid and you're fired up on something, it doesn't feel like work, like I'm sure that there's like young athlete kids who are like busting their ass all the time that maybe feels like work. But even still like you're just having fun. Like you're just like so dedicated to get better at it. You just look up and you just spent 5 hours playing along to the radio, you know.
yeah, that's what it would be. And what else you can do after school? Hold on one second. Hold on. All right. Apparently this
This
podcast
is
interview is too hype and they need me to leave the hotel now. It's too
oh
hype for this hotel. They need me to calm the fuck down.
is that true?
They're like, "Why are you even here? You should be checked out. You're checked out." I'm
The
like,
lobby
"Maybe."
the lobby's like, "Hey, that podcast is way too fire upstairs. You got to get this guy out of here."
We got to get this guy out of here. Why did we let these guys? That's what they say at this point with the Biscuits. They're like, "Why did we let these guys back in our hotel? Like, what are we doing?
We do
The
every fucking
podcasting
year.
every time with these guys."
Do you actually got to get out of here or
No, I smoothed it over with my with my guitar player innocence and general inability to
charm,
understand any real concepts of life.
charm and wit, and also
Yeah,
no concepts of life?
it's
Oh
nice. Happy
man,
to be here.
what? Oh, I
Where would
didn't
I
know that
go?
we were supposed to check out.
It's just I think I'm in this room because I'm supposed to be here, but if I left, where would I supposed to be?
What?
And they're like, "What?"
I ask every time I'm in a hotel room when I'm with whoever I'm with. I ask what our checkout time is. It's the same fucking time every time. I don't know
Every
why I'm
time.
like sometimes like, is it cool if it like leave at 9 p.m. tonight? Or no, it's gonna be 11 a.m. every fucking time. Like, don't.
Yeah, and that yeah, we ask every
Oh
time,
man,
actually. We move the checkout time to noon, 1 o'clock every time. Because if we don't,
yeah,
it's a nightmare. Because then it's just a war between the hotel housekeeping staff and the musicians who don't want to wake up and the other crew members and stuff who don't want to wake up. It's definitely not the musicians. It's definitely the crew members. But there's like a war that happens between housekeeping and them. That happens. So the hotels will grant us an extra hour or two to avoid the war. Because they have other rooms they
yeah.
can clean. Not like we're taking the whole hotel.
There's this guy. He's a Philly comedian. He lives out here in LA now, but his name's Ahmed Weinberg, and he's got a bit about you can't kick me out. He's like, what are you gonna do? Come in here and kick me out. He's got a great joke about checkout times, and I think about it every time I check out. Yeah, you don't got to fucking
Yeah.
leave.
He's like, you can't kick me out. I'm Muslim and Jewish. I'm Ahmed and I'm Weinberg. You can't kick me out of anything.
You really want to start this?
He's like, I'm war with myself. I know you can't do shit with me. I don't got nothing.
Are
Yeah,
you ready
that's
to be on
great.
the news over this?
Seriously, because we can make that happen.
In
Yeah.
a heartbeat, no problem.
Yeah.
Um, is there I mean, you're talking about Phish shows. Is there a Dead show that sticks? Is that maybe that one when you were 15 that sticks out, or
I went to a lot of Dead shows. The Dead was the band I saw the most, mostly because they toured a lot in New Jersey during my high school years. They came around
yeah,
twice a year. They used to play Giant Stadium twice a year for like 3 or 4 nights in a row. Just think about how massive that is compared to what other bands in any, it's like the only people doing that nowadays. I mean, Kenny Chesney will play a half full, like a 50,000, like with the walls, Giant Stadium, and he'll do it for 1 or 2 nights every 4 years. And that's like as
yeah,
big as anybody gets. The Dead used to come around 4 nights, Wednesday night at Giant Stadium and just blow out 4 nights at the stadium and then come back 6 months later, do it again. And so I was lucky enough to be in high school during those years. I mean, if it wasn't for that, I'd probably be an electrical engineer right now or something like that. You know what I mean? It's so much Grateful Dead community coming to your town that we went every time because you could buy nosebleed seats for 13-year-old money. You know what I mean? You could get in the show, and they're all ages shows. They're not carding at Giant Stadium. But it was a
right,
good look at the Dead scene. There'd be like people spinning, and there's no chairs on the floor. So the floor was like all the old, you know, lifer Grateful Dead heads doing their game with all the colors and the weird smells and everything. And there'd be the occasional topless chick running around, and it was just mayhem. It was total mayhem.
yeah, man.
It was legally sponsored mayhem, and we would just go. We would check out all those shows. So I've seen a ton of Grateful Dead shows. They were great in stadiums, and they were just an incredible band.
Yeah, I mean, and especially that East Coast audience, it just feels like even when you listen back now, like the crowd reaction to stuff is just fucking huge, and like, yeah, I mean, East Coast people we're able to see a lot of. I mean, you're able to do that now with Phish. They played the East Coast a lot. You guys play on the East Coast a lot, but yeah, the Dead fucking played a lot of shows out there, and that probably led to a lot of East Coast people getting really into them being around a lot, you know.
Yeah,
Um, and I bet, yeah, I bet those shows were just bedlam, dude.
it was pretty wild. They were great shows. We would go with like huge packs of like high school kids. Like we would just be these little packs of roaming high school kids going through. Everybody else there was like a card carrying thousandth show, like weird patchwork quilted, dreadlocky deadheads. And then there would be these like little roving packs of hellions running through there. And that's what it was. And they were selling 80,000 tickets a night every single night. It was crazy. It was a crazy
Jesus.
experience. Yeah, nobody else has ever done anything like that, in my opinion. And it was just like, but they were, like Jerry's on top of a magazine, and they were like, "Is Dead God?" And it was like a real magazine. It was a picture of Jerry, and it was like a magazine that like normal people. I forget, but it was like Time or something like that. It was like a crazy
Yeah.
magazine to be on the cover of, and so they were just massive on a level that was you could do that back then. You could do that kind of massiveness because the amount of promotion that you could do was a little different. Now you spend all your money on gasoline and hotels and stuff like that. And back then, gasoline and hotels were dirt cheap and people were less expensive too. And so you would take all this extra money that comes in, you would spend it on, building the community and building all this stuff. And those guys had the cachet of all cachets. I mean, they were the inventors of acid, which was just insane thing for them to be running around the country playing shows. Like, we're the inventors of acid. We're coming to your town tomorrow. You want to come to the show? It's just like a
And
crazy
that's just where
thing.
they started with the inventing. They invented
Yeah.
everything after that. Like the sound systems that we use, they pretty much invented. The way that mics
Yeah.
work, they pretty much, like everything. Um, yeah, dude. That just had to feel so epic. Did you, as like a kid and in that scene, did you feel like you were getting like messed with at all or like pranked on or
All the time. All the time.
yeah?
Everybody hated us. We were there because we were the problem. We were like, they couldn't off, like, there's a one guy at one time roller skated by me with a trench coat on and like skated right up to me, and I'm like preparing for the worst, and he opens up his trench coat and he has a bag of mushrooms that's this big, and he's like, "You want to buy a bag of mushrooms?" And I was just like, "What? Who is buying that many mushrooms in a parking lot, dude?" But I guess everybody has their own weird angle there. But it was very rare. Like, we definitely got removed from situations a lot because of our age, which just makes a lot of sense. Which is responsible other people, I think. You know, it just shows you how like root level responsible the Grateful Dead crowd really was, because we could go to shows at our age, and I don't have a single story about like ending up in a hospital because of this, that, or the other thing. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. And that's probably what, you're talking about like the major news publications that get picked up. You like see some dude outside of a show. He's like, they're called deadheads and they're
Yeah.
fucking crazy. And like they
Yeah.
just make everybody seem like it's like going to be this wild time that you'll never return from.
Yeah.
But there is a lot of self-governing in the scene and people who take responsibility for the thing.
Yeah, yeah, and we went to shows all the time, and I never had a problem. I never had a problem. It was crazy. I never had nobody ever, I guess it was maybe the times or what it was, but you know, it's probably because I don't know. I don't know. It's interesting. We were able to go to dead shows at an age where we were probably too young to be at dead shows, and you would think that'd be a bad idea, but we never really, nobody like. I don't know. We just didn't. I guess we just didn't, meet the wrong people or something like that.
It's all it takes. But to not meet the wrong people with 80,000 people there twice a year, every year, that's like you said, that's not a coincidence. That's like just there's a bunch of good people out there. And
Yeah.
also, you guys probably weren't fucking with anyone. You guys were like
Yeah, we
causing problems.
Yeah, we weren't like doing anything crazy. We weren't like seeking it out either. Like, we knew we were too young for that stuff. We were really there for the music, honestly. I mean, we were all musicians and we all played along with the Dead. We played Dead songs in our bands and stuff, and so we knew the music really well. And so I think we were really there for that. We were really just there to watch them play music and chill. I mean, I used to sit down in the balconies when Phish got to that SPAC level. I used to go to the front row of the balcony and just sit there the whole show and just watch and just like a movie. I would watch it like some kind of like weird harmony movie or something. That was really fun to watch.
Mhm.
Every once in a while you get up and dance, but a lot of that jamming was very like it was very cerebral and very interesting, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, when you get to go to a show alone and kind of like lock in that way, that's always really like a great experience, a nice experience, because you don't have like the expectation of like you and your buddies are also there like partying, so you got to fucking like dance the whole time, and you got to like keep the little vibe of your friends going. Like it's nice to go to a show and just kind of like watch the game,
Yeah,
like sit
yeah,
down
yeah,
and like it's a NBA game or something. You're just like, I'm just gonna watch the show.
yeah, yeah,
Nice.
exactly.
Yeah.
Although football, I
Um,
can't do that. That's what I hate about pro football. That's what I love
yeah.
about college football. College football, you're up, you're moving around, you're standing, you're slapping five. You don't have to sit down. Pro football, they're always like, okay, now we sit, and now we stand, and now we sit, and I just can't do the up and down over and over again during the game. I'd rather just stand the whole time.
My folks came out to LA for the first time to visit, and we went to we're Bears fans, and we went to a Bears Chargers game in the giant SoFi Stadium, and I hadn't been to an NFL game in like a long it was weird. It was a weird experience. Like, yeah, there's like the TV timeouts, and like, first of all, SoFi is just like a massive stadium. It just felt like this weird, like disconnected event,
Yeah.
that was like Sunday night football. It was like major shit, but I'm like, oh, this is meant to be watched on TV.
You didn't feel the live vibe.
We also got our fucking ass kicked, so that probably added.
Yeah, yeah, that's tough.
We got beat down. It is tough. Thank you for saying that. It was
Yeah,
hard.
it's good to see an LA person knowing about football and having gone to a game. These are very unique. This is very new. This is the first time ever, almost, in the history of the
I'm
world.
There's really just not a lot of me out here. I'm a really unique sort of guy.
You are.
Like truly though, truly though, like when the Rams won the Super Bowl, like the next day you could not tell. Like there's I was like,
Yeah,
what? Like if we were in Chicago right now, the city would be shut down for 2 weeks. Like,
yeah.
and it was like, oh, did the
No.
Rams win? Oh, that's awesome.
Mm, mm,
Good. Oh,
yes.
good.
Mm, good team, those Rams. Love them. Love good.
Yeah, yeah.
I love that for them. That's what they would say in LA. They go,
I
I
love
love that
that
for
for
them.
them. Oh, that's slay, boys. I love that for you. Good for you.
I really feel like the phrase "I love that for you" is starting to turn the corner from nice, generically, like diplomatic thing to say to like heavily sarcastic thing to say to somebody. It's about to turn the corner to be really funny thing or really piss some people off. Like what the fuck did you just say to me? It's like I love that for you, and they're like, oh. I think that's
It is
coming in the
truly
next year.
it's good for you already. Good for you.
Yeah.
Really, that's good for you. It's like, yeah, it is good for me. Fuck. Just,
I'm like, what do you mean by that? What's good for me about it? And what's
is that
good for the
okay?
East Coast? Once I
Yeah.
heard somebody say it on the East in New York the other night. I heard somebody say it. And I was like, I wouldn't say that
I love
anymore,
that for
buddy.
you. It's like said with that face. I love that for you.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And then I looked at the person who said it. And I was like, I'm pretty sure they're not. I'm pretty sure they're being genuine, but I can't really tell anymore. Big turn of the I love that for you.
Oh, we just love that for you. We love that.
Not for us. We don't love that for us.
No,
For
I love that
you,
for whatever the fuck you're doing.
I think for you, that's incredible. It's incredible. For me, I don't love it for me. I don't love it for me at all, but I love that for you. I do. It's like that. You ever see the movie Caddyshack?
Oh yeah.
When he's like, "Oh, we got a pond in the back for you." It's that. It's the equivalent of that now. It's to do with a pond.
People would go, it couldn't be me. It could never
Yeah,
be me, but it's good for you.
great for you. I
Love that.
love that for you. I love it for you. For me, no. I got way better things to do, but I love it for you. It's like, yeah, it's like what your friends say to you after you've been drinking too much, and you're like, "I'm gonna go to bed and get some rest." And they're like, "Yeah, I love that for you. That's
We love
great.
that for you. That's good.
That's good. That's gonna be good. That was a great plan."
I'm gonna hit you with one of those like 10 years from now.
I
You're gonna be
can't
like,
wait to
what
hear
did
it.
you just fucking say?
It
Oh
was a
man.
full-on insult. Crazy.
Oh yeah, it's gonna way past the wave. I'm gonna bring it up.
Seriously.
And thanks for taking some time. I know you got to check out. Thank you so much for being on the podcast today and taking some time. You guys have a bunch of great shows coming up. Is there any stops that you guys are like super stoked on that you're ready to play on this tour? Or?
Yeah, I'm psyched for Atlanta. Atlanta's next Friday, I think. Next Friday or Saturday. Really psyched for that show. Let me see if I get the date of it. Um, yeah, Saturday the 13th of April. Nashville on the 12th. Raleigh, North Carolina on Sunday the 14th. We've been crushing Sunday shows recently. We've been selling out Sunday shows. It's really a unique situation for
Yeah.
us. We're playing the Texas Eclipse Fest on Sunday the 7th, which is like a huge music festival. A lot of people are
Yeah.
going to. We're playing on Sunday, and some Houston, Dallas, Texas shows. We got a lot of shows. It's been crazy. We have a lot
You
of
guys are
new
having a great
sounds too.
year.
Yeah, it's a really
Yeah.
different
I
band. It's
mean,
very, very interesting stuff that's going on every night. So I'm always like, what the hell are we doing? This is crazy.
it felt like the folks who had seen a ton of Biscuits shows, like when I was at that show in LA, folks were like, "This was a great show, and this is a very different Biscuits show than what I've been used to." And like, I had a buddy that was with me who went to Camp Bisco a bunch when he was younger, and he just doesn't see shows anymore of any kind. And so I was like, "You got to come with me, dude." And he was like, "This is fantastic. It's a great time to be a Biscuits fan." And yeah, I mean, this tour has been great. Of the show I saw, it was great. I'd love to hit all of them, but you know,
You live in
gotta
LA,
stay in LA.
you know? I love that for you. It's just like a great place to be.
Love that for you.
I love it. I used to live in LA. I get it. I get it. I used to live in LA. It was great. I don't remember anything that happened in those 5 years. If you can come out of LA
Yeah,
with something, that's amazing. It's amazing.
yeah, dude, and you're gonna be in Texas, and I love that for you. And you know,
Yeah, it's gonna be great. It'll be great. I'm gonna have to diet for the entire summer for all the food that I'm about to eat in the next week. And yeah, we're gonna do the Southeast too. We're gonna do Raleigh and Asheville and Atlanta and all those shows. And then we're done for a little while. So these are like the last Biscuit shows for a minute. And then I'll probably have all new music to play for the next one. So it'll just be like one of those things where if you like this era of music, these are the shows.
you
And
gotta
the
go see him
people
right now.
You gotta go see them right now because these songs we have this issue now where we have not enough shows for the music that we have and all the jams, and so things get pushed off the table quick. The fan base is complaining. They're like, "You have to play this song. You have to play this song," and it's like, "Yeah, we play a 3.5 hour show every night. We just don't have time to play all this stuff."
You're like, I don't have to do shit. How about that?
Seriously, you make a jam band and go play those songs. Let's go ahead. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
How about I come out and play the mandolin tonight? What about that?
That's next level.
All right, that was my conversation with Jon. Man, can't wait for that AI Bob Marley to come out so Jon can finally see his best show ever. I, just a hilarious answer. To be honest, I have been listening to a bunch of Bob Marley since he brought that up. Like I'm in fucking 7th grade again. That was the beginnings of me trying to get heady. Was listening to Bob Marley and not smoking weed in 7th grade, but also wearing Bob Marley shirts to school to make it seem as though I might smoke weed. But even in those times, people are like, that kid's a cop. Probably going to become a cop. Look at him. Jon was super generous to take some time out while he's on the road and chat with me. I just had a blast with him. Guy's so funny. We had a lot of laughs together. Loved chatting with him. If you're on his routes, if you're seeing the tour and you're like, that's a city that I live in, go see the Disco Biscuits. It's a very good time to go see the Disco Biscuits. We talk about the show that I saw not too long ago out here in LA at the Fonda. show blew me away. And I'm like kind of just dipping my toes into the water of the Disco Biscuits world. And it's like a very welcoming community, very cool people at those shows getting down, dancing, dude. Um, yeah, I mean, they do a lot of things really fucking well. When you see the Disco Biscuits, hot take, they do a lot of things really well. Um, but these guys are clipping right now, and it's a good time to go see them. If you enjoyed this, there are other episodes that are out right now. One with Matt Bush, longtime music manager, uh, and Daniel Donato, current gunslinger guitarist. And so those episodes are both awesome. If you like the dead stories that you heard on this Jon Barber episode, there's more dead stories on the Matt Bush episode. If you like talking about Trey with Jon Barber, we talk about Trey with Daniel Donato. You know what? There's a little something for everyone on everything. So, and by something for everyone, I mean specifically jam stuff, Grateful Dead and Phish. That's what I mean. But guys, thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you've listened to other episodes and you're enjoying them, go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube. If you've enjoyed it on Apple Podcasts, please leave us a review on there. We really appreciate that kind of stuff. And until next time, guys, have a great show.